Hey, what's up, everybody? I just seen this video that said something about Texas age verification starts January 1st. ID required for all apps. Um, I'm not sure what this is going to be about, but uh, I know what it's going to be about, but I just want to hear what they have to say. 10 seconds in, there's a little bit of music, so I'm going to uh, skip the first 10 seconds. And if I hear any other music, I'll end up trying to skip through it too. Uh, just getting this channel kicked off. I really don't want to deal with copyright strike stuff, so let's avoid all that.
Louisiana have similar laws, and there is a to require your government.
Let's get about 10 seconds.
In Louisiana have similar laws, and there is a federal bill that's been proposed to make this nationwide in the US. No, this is not a joke. Yes, let's talk about it and discuss what to do. All links will be in the description, but this is going to be SB 2420, and this is the Texas App Store Accountability Act. This has already been passed, and it's going to be effective on January 1st, 2026, but this applies to all apps. This includes weather apps, sports apps, news apps, everything. It doesn't matter if it's a calculator app, anything. So this is very foreign and new, and so we are going to have to fill in some gaps, but we do know a few things already about what this might look like. So again, this
Yeah, I can see a lot of people downloading the APIs. I think it's an API. Basically the software without the Google Play Store or anything like that. Or like, I don't know. This is getting kind of crazy.
is for the App Store and the Google Play Store. It says once this law goes into effect, users located in Texas who create a new Apple account will be required to confirm they are 18 years or older. All new Apple accounts for users under the age of 18 will be required to join a family sharing group, and parents or guardians will need to provide consents for all App Store downloads, app purchases, and transactions using Apple's in-app purchase system by the minor. There will also be an
Or we could quit giving kids smartphones and go back to giving them dumb phones, or we don't have to worry about it, right?
API to help developers comply, and what they're saying is a privacy-preserving way, and they promise more details and technical documentations this fall. Now you might be saying,
Do they really think that this is going to keep kids or people from being on apps that they're not supposed to be on? I mean, you don't even need apps. You can go on the internet on Google Chrome something and get anything that they don't need to be on. They can still get it. Like this whole app thing.
Henry, it makes sense. Minors shouldn't be able to just download whatever they want on their phone. And I'd say, sure.
That's parents should be more in touch with what their children are doing. More in touch with I mean, checking their phones. Did they to even let them have phones? I mean, we're in a different day and age anymore.
That's why parental controls already exist on iOS devices as well as on the Google side of things. This prevents you from App Store purchases, and it prevents you from installing certain apps without any kind of administrator access. It prevents explicit content, it prevents inappropriate web content, and it really prevents everything that I think most people universally agree is stuff that children shouldn't have access to. So this feature already exists, is already privacy respecting, and functions pretty much on device of every iOS device out there.
So why do they need to do anything different? It's to me, it's the equivalent of trying to take weapons away from criminals. Criminals are going to get weapons no matter how you look at it. They're going to get weapons without the consent of the law. If they think that passing these laws to keep people from doing stuff is the answer, they're wrong. But I personally don't think that that's what it's about. I think it's about tracking us. We're going to have a lack of privacy, is what it is.
This law doesn't just destroy the privacy for adults, but children as well, and actually makes
Bingo. That's what I just said.
them less safe than the tools they have access to right now. Now, it's pretty interesting because both Apple and Google have expressed some concern over this. Apple's is a bit more subtle. Apple says, even if a user simply wants to check the weather or sports scores, which pretty much is a subtle call out at how ridiculous this law might sound. Google was a bit more direct, though. They outlined their concerns about the Utah law, which is extremely similar, which says this bill requires app stores to share if a user is a kid or teenager with all app developers, effectively millions of individual companies without parental consent or rules on how the information is used. That raises real privacy and safety risks, like the potential for bad actors to sell the data or use it for other nefarious purposes. Google
Epstein had a lot of friends.
even said a weather app doesn't need to know if a user is a kid. And it's true. Why does every developer need users' ages? That's just irrelevant for 90+% of applications on any app store. Apple also put out this blog post not too long ago, which goes through their formal statement. And again, it's a lot more professional and that's a little bit less opinionated than Google's, but it still very much throws some subtle things that call into question what this is really accomplishing. This has really concerning implications. So Apple and Google are now going to have to collect and verify user ages through the App Store. So not only do you have to put trust in the companies to make sure they're doing things properly, but they both are building an API so that every developer for every app that you install gets access to at least some of that information, the extent of which is also a bit unclear right now. This includes tiny indie developers and massive companies, both of which could have poor security practices or good security practices. It also includes international developers outside of US jurisdiction, and it means every app you download means another company with your age data. And it also means that many of these apps can't actually be used with any layer of privacy or anonymity if it has to be tied to some account or some personal profile. Something else is that nowhere in this law do they mandate encryption standards. They have no requirements for data retention limits. There's no rules preventing the resale of this data. There's no penalties for developer misuse. Developers can do whatever they want with age data once they have it. I don't think developers are going to get access to like user IDs or anything like this. That's my hope, but still, that is still sensitive data to know about people. That isn't always beneficial. And we are picking on Texas because they're a major state and they are going to have this in effect first. This is happening in Utah and Louisiana, and they've already teased rolling this out federally. And I cannot express the worst part about this is the fact that now that Apple and Google are forced to build the infrastructure to facilitate this, this is now permanent. Apple and Google can't go, oh, we can't do this because it's never been done before. No, it's done, it's built in, and now all another state has to do is say, hey, you already did it in Texas, you need to do it here too, and we already know you can do it. So just do it here, otherwise you're going to be going against any kind of prior precedent. And like I say,
Don't just let your kid go hog wild with a device doing stuff, looking at whatever. But I don't once again,
and all our other content, if this starts becoming normalized in the US, that impacts the whole world as well, because now other countries can go, well, they have this technology built in the US, so we can also do it here too. So this is still a global fight, just like all the other concerns that I've talked about on the channel recently. This is also easier to expand the scope later. This might start with just verifying an age, but it can really continue into a lot more things. What if apps start saying, well, we need to verify a first and last name, we need to verify address of our users? Well, let's just expand our API so that developers have access to this information too, because
right.
this one person somewhere in the world lied about where they're getting their goldfish food delivered. And people talk about the slippery slope like it's something that doesn't happen, but it's already happening. This is HB 1181. This is from June 2025, and this actually had a Supreme Court ruling, and Justice Thomas said, quote, adults have no First Amendment right to avoid age verification. That ruling greenlights expansion to all apps, so there's now constitutional precedent in the Supreme Court for this kind of stuff to keep rolling out everywhere. That's how things start, as just being towards NSFW content. Then it rolls out into every app on the App Store, regardless if it's NSFW. And what's next? Individual websites like we're seeing in the UK, smart home devices, gaming platforms. You're going to have to age verify yourself to start playing video games. The UK
We can put, we can take privacy away federally, but we still can't have our Second Amendment without a license. which
might be getting ahead of us here and giving us some good ideas. So Senator Mike Lee and all of the people who are really big proponents of this are saying this protects kids from violent and sexual material and online predators, which sounds noble, it sounds reasonable, and all of us want that for kids. But why does this apply to weather apps in that case? Why isn't this just applied to NSFW apps on the App Store? And what these politicians and people who are proponents of this need to understand, especially when you write these laws without any kind of data privacy built into the law, you get situations like this. Discord has been having to KYC their users, and that means uploading IDs. If you haven't seen this video, I'll leave it carded and I'll leave it in a description. It's from No Text-to-Speech. This is from the recent
other nefarious purposes like
Discord data breach, and the Discord hacker actually DMs No Text-to-Speech and kind of gives a little bit of a preview of the data that they were able to hack from Discord. And it includes government ID images, not just of adults, but minors. All because of laws forcing Discord as a platform to have to start accepting IDs and age verifying their users. The hacker now, who has access to children's IDs, he got a message on Telegram saying you can make more money selling the IDs. The little ones are worth more. So when these politicians are saying we're out here trying to protect kids by KYCing the App Store and forcing them to hand over private data about themselves, there is a very, very direct negative consequence to their safety. So this doesn't just create massive surveillance infrastructure for adults. It doesn't just allow the government and millions of corporations now to know every user's identity and how old they are. It doesn't just mean that now your real identity is tied to all your app usage. It doesn't just mean that it destroys anonymous and pseudonymous internet use. It also means that it keeps children less safe, because now you're forcing children to have to hand over sensitive information about them to a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't have access to that information. They present this false choice, which is either you give up everyone's privacy forever or you don't protect children at all. And this false dichotomy ignores all the existing solutions that already exist, that is parents' responsibilities to protect their children by utilizing those tools that are already built in and are incredibly safe and are built to keep children safe without harming everybody in the world's privacy. If all these things aren't enough to make you go, whoa, this is some scary shit, I think the most infuriating thing is, what if your kid has an iPhone? Now you have to create an Apple account to join a family sharing group? Does that make any sense? It doesn't to me. Again, privacy-preserving alternatives already exist. Device-level parental controls, both Apple and Google offer these features. They already exist, and they don't invade people's privacy, and they don't invade the control of what apps they can install on their phone. We have screen time limits, we have content filtering, we have app restrictions, and we have
or just stop offering services to the states that require that. I mean, like, not worth our time.
no surveillance infrastructure required for any of that. Age verification laws, on the other hand, which is what all these politicians are trying to pass, lead to things like the Discord breach, where an age verification system is compromised and it leads to people IDs ending up in the hand of predators. That includes minors' IDs, that includes selfies with IDs, that includes personal information, and that very system that's meant to protect children now creates a database for people to target them. These laws are passed without a care in the world about these very real and actually happening risks that we can directly point to. These aren't made up scenarios. This isn't a hypothetical. These things are happening right now because of other places and other regions that have already had to age verify people. 10 years ago, children didn't really have to worry too much about identity theft. I don't think nowadays we can say the same thing if children are now going to have to upload their ID to a bajillion platforms. Okay, my outrage is over, so let's get into the We can do a section of this video. So a quick overview of what happens next. January 1st, 2026, Texas law goes live. New Apple accounts in Texas require age verification. If you're a developer, you need to comply with this soon. May 7th, 2026, the Utah law goes into effect, and July 1st, the Louisiana law goes into effect. Beyond 2026, other states might follow. We don't know yet. They are kind of saying there could be a federal bill, and
you don't need to age verify yourself on old video games like the original Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, the Atari, PlayStation 1, 2, maybe not 3, I don't know. How much are they making off of this?
either way, the infrastructure is being built, and if it does become federal, that could be pretty permanent infrastructure. If you're in Texas or in any of these states, again, try to create your Apple or Google accounts if you're in any way interested in this. Otherwise, you can just forego them, right? But if you are a regular person who's downloading apps from the App Store, you need to create that before January 1st if possible. Existing accounts might be grandfathered. We don't know. If you do want parental controls for your kids that doesn't invade or harm their privacy, use the built-in parental controls on your iDevices. They already exist. We also need to oppose these laws. Yes, they've been passed, but there's still a lot of time to act and see if we can make any change. So try to contact, especially if you're in Texas, contact your representatives, contact people in Utah, contact people in Louisiana. This is some dangerous stuff, and if it continues spreading, this could be really bad. So we need to oppose federal kids' online safety acts or similar bills or whatever else they do. So stay aware of what's going on, and please, 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 especially if you're in these states, contact your representatives. Share this information. Most people don't even know this is happening. It's just going to be a pop-up perhaps in 6 months, and they're just going to go, oh, okay, I guess I just do this now. So this affects everybody if it goes federal. So word of mouth matters. Share this video around, or just share the Ars Technica coverage of it. Whatever you think is most impactful for the people around you, share that around, and I'll leave links to everything I've shared in the description. Next, support orgs that are fighting this stuff. The EFF is doing a lot to fight similar things, and they have a lot more resources than any of us will to help fight this stuff. And finally, of course, educate others on alternatives. Remember, parental controls exist and work already. They don't require any surveillance, and age verification creates more dangers like the Discord data breach.
Yeah, so that means tell your friends, like, hey, did you hear about this shit going on? Like, they're trying to basically, this is the equivalent of putting one of them tracking devices, collars, on you, but it's not a collar, it's one of these. And whew, dystopian, very dystopian, to track everything you do, no matter what you're doing, whether, like they said, it's checking the weather or you're on Facebook. And what okay, think about this. Let's say that we have a tyrannical government, and the government wants to take all our rights away, and we get on there with our Facebook account and we say, screw the government, I'm not complying, y'all should follow suit. Now, all of a sudden, we have this issue where your data is attached to that a Facebook account or whatever, Instagram, wherever you post. Let's say it's a video, let's say it's a text post, whatever it is, your data is attached to that account, and they can come to your house and knock on your door and say, oh, did you make this post right here that says screw the government, and trying to get people to uh, go along with this ideology? Oh, you're inciting riots, you are trying to create an insurrection, you are trying to overthrow the government, blah blah blah. That's what we're going to end up. You're not going to be able to do anything. God forbid that the government ever become tyrannical, but I'm just going to put it to you this way. If it wasn't a real thing that could happen, if it wasn't the reality of the possibilities that would be in the Constitution that it could happen, and what you should do if it does happen, and if you don't think it could happen, you should see what's happening in other places.
And if any of you watching this are politicians, I understand sometimes it seems like the right thing to do, and we all want to protect kids, but there are some very direct side effects to this approach that we're taking, especially when the laws don't have any built-in privacy protection or encryption standards or anything else to even imply that there's a downside to these laws. So my message to lawmakers is parental controls are already built in and effective unless there's evidence to the contrary, which no one has put forward. Surveillance infrastructure isn't needed to protect children. Age verification laws create literal honeypots for hackers. Children are less safe when their IDs are on a database, and you're solving a problem that's already been solved. That's my TLDR summary of my stance on this. Very concerning things, especially when we talk about the fact that these are very similar states that say that they're proponents of free speech and free access to information, and they don't want to be in people's lives. This is the literal definition of getting involved as a government in people's lives. This is policing children on behalf of parents. Make no
No, this is policing parents, adults, people that don't even have kids, people who are legally allowed to do whatever they want to do, policing them for the sake of somebody else's kids, that because somebody else doesn't want to raise their kids properly and they want to put a tablet in front of them to babysit them. That's what this is about. Like, I'm not saying that a kid having a tablet is wrong. I'm saying watch what your kids are doing. Be aware, be mindful, check on it. Uh, Tell them no. They can be in trouble if they sneak and do something they're not supposed to do. Hold to it. Don't just tell them they're going to be in trouble and then like a slap on the wrist.
mistake. The current tools parents have is actually parenting kids, which is you have parental control, you set the restrictions for your own kid, and you choose whether or not that's even an option. This, on the other hand, is not that at all. So unless people push back hard, this becomes the new normal, not just in Texas, but nationwide, and soon after, global.
Yeah, and I hear music starting, so I'm not gonna let the video play out for the last 40 seconds. But yeah, maybe if you don't agree with this, which I would hope that nobody agrees with this. I feel like this is a way that politicians are somehow getting a kickback. I guarantee you, it's data brokers that are funding the politicians, saying, "Hey, pass this law," because for the kids, but really they're selling our data, they're collecting our data, they're using it to send to advertisers. uh, it's a whole thing. Like, I know it sounds crazy, just if you ever looked into it you would know it's a real thing. uh, yeah, not cool. So anyways, if you made it this far, that means you still like me, and you should go ahead and subscribe and follow along for the next video. Give me a thumbs up, and just want to let you know I appreciate you hanging out.